CCTV and the Wexford Missaukee Intermediate School District are proud to present Celebrating Success with your host Dave Cox, Wexford Missaukee ISD Superintendent. Join us monthly as we talk with people making a positive difference in our community.
Hi, welcome to the inaugural episode of Celebrating Success. I'm your host, Dave Cox. Celebrating Success is an opportunity for us to bring in special guests to ask them questions about what they do, who they are, all things positive in their world. This is really what Celebrating Success is all about. And like I said, each episode will have a guest. But before we get to the guests, to me, the best part of Celebrating Success is it is 100% produced by students. And speaking of guests, we have our inaugural guest, Mr. Rich Spicer. Rich Spicer is currently the Digital Media Productions Program paraprofessional at CTC. So the first thing we're going to do, Rich, is I look around and I see these students on these cameras. Tell me about how we got here today.
It's been a long process. You know, digital media came to be part of the CTC. It started off at Cadillac High School. In fact, it goes back years, back to the 90s, I think, when Marlon Ream started a radio program. And he retired, and there was a period of time, I think, before Cammie Cook took over. She's our instructor. And she ran it there for several years at Cadillac High School, but there was an idea that eventually this program could be folded into the CTC, and that happened in, I believe, 2010-11, I think. And then it just grew from there. And you know, as you have always said, it's all about partnerships and relationships, and we developed a relationship with Eric Watilla, who owns Newsnet and runs CCTV and several other local channels, and he just happens to have a studio that we're sitting in right now, and the ISD rents the studio, and our crew is all made up of CTC students who are in digital media production. The program just gets better and more advanced every year. Some of these students are going to go out and in the real world and work at local television stations, or maybe they'll go on to college and you know, continue to tell their stories.
So really, you talk about, at the Tech Center a lot, they talk about the Career Tech Center, capstone experiences and that co-op opportunity or working. You really have it. I mean, you really have it. It's what you're telling me. This is a studio. It's a working studio.
It's a real.
We are in doing this show, and it's part of Newsnet, which is one of our partners. How cool is that? I mean, how cool is the experience for these students?
There are very few students in high school in the state of Michigan that are getting this kind of experience. And should they go off to college, their instructors will find out that they are experienced in studio production. They're experienced in sports production, because some of our students go out and shoot Cadillac Viking football games and basketball games, so they have experience with live sports. With a director sitting in the truck who is also typically a former DMP student. Isabel Granados, I think, directed most, if not all, of the games this year, and she's from Lake City High School. She graduated a few years ago.
That's awesome.
So we have former DMP students leading current DMP students.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Someday they'll be on ESPN. You never know, right?
You just don't know.
Or anywhere in the digital media world.
Right.
So that is awesome, and that's really the whole inaugural piece of this is it's student driven. So that's what I get super excited about. But you know, going back to our special guest, Rich Spicer. Rich, tell us a little bit more about yourself. What got you here today as far as personally? What's their background? Let us get to know you a little bit better.
Well, I started in radio a month before I turned 18 years old in my hometown of Alpena. And I started off running Detroit Tigers baseball games. So I grew up on Ernie Harwell and Paul Carey.
Oh, you weren't the voice of the Tigers?
No,
that would be.
I was just sitting there pressing the buttons and making sure that the local ads ran during the breaks.
Right.
But you know, and I worked there for 6 years, and then I went off to CMU and got a degree in broadcast and cinematic arts, and then stayed in Mount Pleasant and worked in radio there for a little while, and ended up going back to Alpena. Was there from 2000 to 2006, and then an opportunity opened up here in Cadillac right around the time I was looking for a job, and so I've been here in Cadillac for 15 years. Wow. And I've hosted a morning radio show for 15 years. at 96.7 FM for the first 6 years.
What's it called, Rich? What's it called?
It's Now the Bull.
Now the Bull.
It's Now the Bull. And then I moved in 2012.
What's your show called?
My show's called the Get Up and Go Morning Show.
Get Up and Go Morning Show.
And it's on 107.9 CDY, and I've been on there since 2012. 2012 was the same year that I started at the CTC as a digital media parapro. So I've got 10 years.
10 years.
And yeah.
Wow. So let me get this straight. You're a paraprofessional during the day, and at night, or maybe even earlier in the morning, you're on the radio doing the Get Up and Go show.
Right.
And then in the evening, you're in the TV world? So, wow.
Not 5 days a week, because I don't think there's enough of me to go around. But there are a couple of days a week I'll run over to 9 and 10 and run cameras or run graphics for the newscasts.
Wow.
I will work here at Newsnet/CCTV on occasion when they need me to do some fill-ins. So,
You're a busy man.
And then I have, a wife and 4 kids, one of which is actually sitting in the control room right now. She's a 2-year digital media production student.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't awkward at all. I thought it was going to be awkward to have my daughter in my class, but it was not at all.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
She's doing well?
She's doing well.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
What, does she have aspirations to go into the field?
I think she wants to go into film. She wants to, be a storyteller and go into that aspect of it. So I'm very proud of her.
Absolutely, and you should be. So, not to put you on the spot, but if you had to pick, what's your, I can't being all biased, what's your favorite job of those 3 or 4 you mentioned?
The one that keeps giving back is the job here at the CTC.
Awesome.
Because I get to follow up with former students and kind of be a confidant or a mentor or an advisor. It's not unheard of for a student to come back 7, 8, 9 years after graduation and say, hey, I'm applying for another job, can you help me with my resume?
Awesome.
That kind of thing. So that's the most rewarding part.
Excellent. Because that goes back to what you had said about the relationships, the partnerships. Because of those relationships, you're giving these students opportunities that they probably otherwise wouldn't have had. Mm-hmm. So when you look back at your life, maybe your career or your life, it doesn't matter. Can you think of a person or two that helped you with that? You know what I mean? Somebody who was a mentor or really stood out to you as far as you can think back, oh, it was Mr. Johnson or whatever. Whoever pushed you or motivated you to become the person that you are.
When I was a teenager, I used to listen to the radio all the time. And I often thought I could do that. And at my first job, which was WATZ country station in Alpena, Michigan, there were a couple of people who really took me under their wing and mentored me and gave me lots of advice. They're both gone now. One was named Don Partika, and the other was named Jim Spleet, and another one was Steve Wright, who was the morning show host and the program director at the radio station. They all really took me under their wing, and I appreciated that. And 35 some years later, I remember that, and I try to fill that role with this group here.
Students, excellent. So when you think about the many jobs that you're doing, what gets Rich Spicer out of bed? Now let's take away the monetary part, right? We all need to make a living, but what motivates you to get up and get up in the morning and go?
Well, for me, I just feel like I'm making a difference. I think everyone needs to have a purpose, and for me, the fact that I work in television and radio, and I'm able to take those experiences and help the kids who are interested in that and going into that line of work at the Career Tech Center, that's really what motivates me every day.
So when you think back when Rich Spicer was 18 years old, and if he was sitting behind us or next to us, or he just walked in, what advice would you give him?
I would say, this is interesting, because when I was a teenager, I was not very bold. I was not one to go to someone and say, hey, teach me this. We have a class full of students, many of whom come to us and say, I want to learn this. Can you help me? And I remember at that age, I was not bold enough to ask for that. So, that's the fun part, is to be able to do that.
So with that said, when you talk about, I look at you and consider you the piece of being successful. How did I become successful? And I appreciate the fact that you mentioned the Tech Center is probably your biggest, maybe that's your most proud moment, again, because of the impact that you have on our youth today. What are some characteristics of being successful that you would pass on to the students that are here or the former students saying, you do this, this, and this, good things are going to happen and you're going to be successful? What advice would you have for that?
Don't be shy about getting to know people. Don't be shy about asking questions. Most people who are in the industry that you want to go in, and this is any industry, whether it's welding or construction or automotive or anything like that, talk to people who are working in it. Most people want to offer advice. They want to pass along what they know to other people. So, I mean, that's my best advice is don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to establish relationships. You never know when that person you might strike up a conversation with, even in the line at Meyer, might have something in common with you, and you can develop a relationship.
That's a great point. When you think about the kids that you've impacted in that relationship piece, I got to believe some of them come in pretty shy. You know what I mean? So you work on that. Maybe that's a little goal of yours, is to get that student come out of their shell a little bit and not be afraid to be more aggressive and approach people.
I think that's one of the most fun things to have a student who comes in very shy and unsure of themselves at the beginning of their first year with us, and even as the months progress, see them come out of their shell, because they're, especially with CTC students, they're in a classroom with kids who have like minds. They're interested in the same things, so they develop friendships. And I mean, that's another thing too. I see a lot of former students who have developed friendships in the classroom, and they have lasted years and years beyond high school.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Well, we're going to take a little break. Excuse me, with Rich Spicer. We'll be right back with our guest. Thank you. Welcome back to Celebrating Success. I'm Dave Cox, your host. This is our inaugural episode, and we have a very special guest here today, Rich Spicer. We're going to continue to kind of quiz Rick a little bit and ask some questions. It's all positive, though. It's all good stuff. And he has definitely shared some information about why we're here, the students that are involved, the Wexford-Missaukee Career Tech Center, the digital media program. Can't forget Miss Cammy Cook. She's the lead teacher of that. And we've got another former employee who is currently at MyNewsNet as well, and that's Mr. Morris Langworthy, who is assisting us as well. So again, we talked a bit about relationships, and you're putting all that together, and I'm thinking back when you had mentioned where the program used to be at the high school and where it is today, and the fact that we're doing a TV show and I'm hosting, awesome. It's just absolutely awesome.
And we cannot do this without giving a nod of thanks to Morris and also to Eric Watilla. Eric has always been a great supporter of our students, and Morris spent 5 years as a parapro in the digital media production program and was crucial to getting this whole thing set up. So we really appreciate him, and I know the kids miss him in the classroom, but he's got a full-time role here at the TV station.
So they're still seeing him.
They are.
He works here now. So and explain that again. Is it just seniors that come here now for the student, or all the students come? So
sometimes if there's a certain show that the kids are doing where we can bring a first year over here, we will do that. But we're at the point, as of this taping date, we're at the point where we're getting down to the final weeks for the seniors. In the second years.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be May soon.
Yeah. So the next show that we do with you is probably going to be done with some first years to introduce them to what this operation is like. Absolutely. So they can be ready for next year. Right.
Absolutely. And our goal is to do one a month?
I think you would like to do one a month, and if you call us up and say, hey, I want to do a show, I got a guest, we'll make it happen.
Excellent. So I'm going to be coming out to some folks out there that are watching. You'll be sitting in this chair in the very near future. So tell me a little bit about, you looked at from your career, from the time in Alpena, or even as a child, it doesn't matter. What are you most proud of? What is Rich Spicer the most proud of?
Well, I'm professionally, I'm proud of I'm proud of the relationships that I've developed. I'm proud of my kids. I'm proud of my family. My oldest is 20 and he's at Ferris and he's a CTC product. Obviously, we talked about my daughter Kalina. She's in the control room right now doing audio. How did that end up happening, huh? And she's about to graduate. And my two youngest are 11 and 10, and I'm sure they'll be CTC students in 6 or 7 years too.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
But yeah, I've had a really, really good experience. And I just want to pass that along.
Amen.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your family again, which is great. You know, obviously looking in the mirror, you should be very proud of yourself as well. You know, you've done a great job, and I've known Rich quite a while, honestly, and you are the epitome of a relationship builder and a connector, building bridges, if you will, connecting people to opportunities, and really that's what it's all about.
Well, what good is life if you don't share your knowledge?
Exactly.
As far as I'm concerned, and you really, I'm fortunate to know a lot of people who are in hiring positions, and I'm very lucky to be able to call up Eric or call up Morris or call up Pete Ludvigson over at 9 and 10. Often they'll come to me and they'll say, "Okay, I have an opening. Send me your best DMPs."
That's awesome.
And that's a good position to be in.
Awesome. Making sure those students hear that. The best DMPers, you get an opportunity. So yeah. So it's like that Rolodex of yours is big, and people know that, and you know that. So in mentioning that in your family, what is one thing that even your closest, people that are closest to you, maybe in your family, let's include your family, that maybe doesn't know something about you?
Wow.
What would that one thing be?
Wow.
It's got to be positive.
Wow. See, this is, we kind of do this at the start of the year as an icebreaker for the students. That my family doesn't know about me?
Your closest people. Which would be your family.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't need to be like us. Maybe just the people that are closest to you. You can exclude your family. Let's not get you in trouble. But it's got to be positive.
So maybe you don't even know about this, but my grandmother is in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the longest career as a bartender.
No. In Alpena?
In Alpena.
No kidding.
She started when she was 21 and she kept doing it until she was 99. So it was 71 years when she was put into the Guinness Book of World Records, but it ended up 78. Yeah.
That's amazing. No,
Yeah.
Certainly didn't know that.
If you look up,
I didn't know there was such a record. To be let alone it was your grandmother.
Guinness Book of World Records. I mean, there's a record for everything.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
So there's that, and also I am a passionate fan of game shows.
Okay.
I love the 70s and 80s game shows. I loved Match Game. I loved Password. I loved The Price is Right and Press Your Luck and $25,000 Pyramid and all those shows.
Oh my Lord.
If I were to have a dream job, it would be to work on the set of a game show.
There's a bubble above my head, and I don't know if you can read it or not, because we think sometimes alike. I'm picturing a future game show produced by the DMP students with Rich as our host. How fun would that be? That could be fun.
I don't know that we'll have the budget to give away $25,000.
No, it'll be fun. We'll just give like gift certificates to the cafe at the tech center or something like that.
Sure.
So all these things that you do, getting up in the morning show, Parapro, working at Newsnet or 9 and 10 News, what do you do to have fun? What do you do to unwind?
Sleep. My family will say, they probably wish we would do more fun things on the weekend, but the weekends for me are just for rest and relaxation, so I can get up and do it all again on Monday morning.
So obviously, spring break takes even another level of can't wait kind of thing. Not that you want to be away from the students, but that spring break opportunity, those Christmas breaks that schools have, that gives you a chance to get some sleep.
When you work as many jobs as I do, sometimes it takes a lot of effort to line up all of them to be able to take a vacation. And I actually did fly out to Arizona to see my dad. For the first time, I actually took a vacation during spring break this past year.
Tell us about it. That sounds great.
Well, I'd never seen cactus before. So
Not
that
even
was
at the store, they got them somewhere. But
growing out of the ground.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And they say that Arizona, the heat in Arizona is tolerable because it's dry, and I can absolutely confirm that. 92 degrees in Arizona is way different than 92 degrees here.
Because of the humidity.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that was fun. I had a lot of fun. We went to a spring training baseball game out there in Arizona.
Who did you see?
the LA Dodgers and the Kansas City Royals.
Awesome. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. You had a spring break, a real spring break.
I did. I had a real spring break.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm not one to be jealous, but you know, you go on Facebook and 9 out of 10 of your friends are in Florida or Arizona or wherever, and
see the
it's like,
pictures.
maybe it's time for me to do this.
Absolutely,
you know? Yeah.
absolutely. But going back to the question, there's got to be something there's got to be a go-to for you that keeps you focused. And maybe it's making the difference, but got to be something you do to unwind. No? You're a busy man, I get that, but it's got to be something.
Usually I'm working on my days off, so
Okay.
yeah.
That's awesome.
But you know, some people say they act like they feel sorry for me. You know, they shouldn't, because all of my jobs work together beautifully, and I don't. When you enjoy your job and you love your job, you're not really going to work.
That's true.
As far as I'm concerned.
And I was just going to say, because as long as I've known you, you've been a very jovial, happy, positive person. You know?
I try to be.
And how do you do that? People want to know how you do that. I want to know how you do that.
That's a really good question, and I'll tell you, I could probably, I'll answer the question, and then I'll ask you the same question, because you're pretty.
Wait a minute, who's hosting this show?
I'm going to take control for a second.
All right.
So yeah, I mean, you know, there are things that happen in life that you can't control, and most of the negative things that go on in life are things that you can do nothing about. So why spend time worrying about them? That's my.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, what is that similar to your outlook?
It is, and people will say, well, that's easier said than done, but if you really stay focused on that, you're absolutely right. Because I used to have this, I was a frontline administrator at one time. I'd have a circle of life, and the largest circle was no control. You know what I mean? The second largest was influence, and the littlest one was control. Mm-hmm. And we spent so much time in that no control worrying. Mm-hmm. Right? And what do they say? 90% or more of things we worry about don't come to fruition. So you're absolutely right. Quit worrying about it. The passion that I would have is what I'm doing today. And not that I want to be a TV show. Just being with you and the students and looking at the opportunity that has been presented. And I'm thinking here as we're talking back to when we were at the Cadillac High School, when we started that program and kind of adopted it and brought it to the Tech Center, and where it's come today, from Facebook posts last night of you bringing a student to the 9 and 10 studio to watching the students telling me all the signals what to do. It's just amazing. So maybe this will be the last question. I don't know, but if you could change one thing, and I'm going to just go in the world of media, if you could wave your magic wand. This is so hard. What would you do if you could change one thing?
In the world of media?
Yeah. What would it be?
I would. If I had a choice, I would try to make all managers understand that they have a duty to make their workplaces comfortable. They have a duty to make their workplaces a place where people are comfortable going. I've worked in a few workplaces where the management was not great, and that makes it difficult to go to work every day, and it makes it difficult to keep that positive attitude up.
Good, absolutely.
I think it's crucial for any administrator or manager to make work, to the extent it can be, fun.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's a people business. I mean, it is, and it's all about relationships, about making deposits with people. You never know when you need to make a withdrawal, but you're absolutely right. I could not agree anymore. So that concludes our inaugural episode of Celebrating Success. I'm your host, Dave Cox. Our special guest today was Rich Spicer. We learned a lot. I reminisce too a little bit about some of the things we've been through. It's great, but again, the fact that this is a show that's produced 100% by students is just beyond comprehensible for me. But I'm starting to appreciate it in a way that I never would have before. So again, thank you, and we'll see you next month. We'll have a new person sitting in the chair, and we'll do the same thing. So thank you.